So I joined Omnisend almost 3 years ago. My name is Martynas, obviously. And I'm here to present how we test at Omnisend. It's amazing how little you can share in 30 minutes or so. So nothing in depth, but hopefully you will get something out of it. So I will cover these topics, showing just briefly. So what is Omnisend? It's multi-channel marketing platform designed for small to medium businesses, and we're determined to help our customers to sell more. That's pretty much it. So yeah. How about we look into our testing landscape, because that's why we are here. So we do a lot of releases each month. So about 1.5 of release in a day, because we don't work weekdays. Yeah, we have lots of microservices. It's a lot more than that, but not all of them are actively developed, so not worth mentioning how many actually we have of those. And only 5 test engineers to observe and maintain the quality. So you're probably already asking a few questions. How do we keep that velocity? How do we maintain quality with with just 5 test engineers? Well, it all starts with company mindset. And yeah, we are very focused on speed. And we think that fast fish always outbeats the big fish. And this is how we focus on speed in Omnisend a lot. So the next thing is very important for us is getting things done instead of perfecting them. So fast to market approach is very important to us to measure if the feature is actually useful for our customers. So imagine you spend 2 weeks perfecting something, and after that you realize that nobody cares about that feature. That's a lot of time wasted. And we strictly, I mean, we have 20 miles march as a concept very close to our heart in our company. So you can read more about that in the internet, but it's about discipline and yeah. So you have to keep pushing, even if it's hard, but when it gets easier at some point. So I would like to bring up some few points. So at Omnisend, all of our test engineers come from different backgrounds, and we don't try to make them work in certain ways. So each of us bring something new, some different views, different perspectives, and it's fine. They work with their own teams, and they use their own methods. But of course, some principles do apply for all of us, so I will share them with you. So principle number 1 is, of course, we don't do manual testing, manual regression testing. We do manual testing, of course, for new features. So all of our main workflows are covered with automated tests, and we keep it that way. We don't have time for manual regression. Principle number 2, testing should never be a bottleneck, and I mean it. I remember when I joined Omnisend, new team was formed, and we developed a new feature in 3 days. I actually managed to deliver end-to-end tests just in time for when developers finished work. So that was nice of me, I guess. But when I asked, now I will need a day or 2 to test this feature, because it's just fresh, and I need to make sure it works and so on. So everybody laughed at me. I got like 2 hours, and we're in prod. that taught me a lesson, and now I know that I need to prepare for future releases and think ahead, plan ahead, maybe involve developers at some point. So principle number 3, we're everywhere. I mean, test engineers. As soon as feature pitch starts, project manager comes up with a new idea, we might as well kill it just by saying a few things that it won't work or something. The next, we care about designs. We are useful in technical plannings. Otherwise, we wouldn't be invited. So yeah, we're everywhere, and we're making sure we deliver quality product. And at the end, we don't have to do much when it's done. Press something. Press it again. Nice. Okay, so yeah, this is a boring one. We do. It's on us to look into support issues, analyze them, prioritize them, try to squeeze it in between some feature work. Sometimes we close those issues as we see that it's a corner case or some sort. Just what Lina said, that it's not always cost-effective to fix all the corner cases that our users find. And another principle that sometimes we forget, but it's there. We have an agreement with developers that features must be testable. That means whenever we develop something that, for example, processes only once in 24 hours, or has some external dependencies and so on that our testing framework would have a hard time reaching, and so on, we ask our developers to implement hacks, workarounds, hooks, you name it, whatever works, so that our tests would be fast and we could have tests, because nobody would want a test that waits 24 hours for something to complete. And finally, we started involving developers into testing process, and it paid its dividends. We can now go to vacation. Just joking. Yeah, so we're using our checklists, testing checklists if we provide them. If not, they might as well do their own. They write test automation, they maintain it, they investigate failures and so on. So yeah, that helps. I mean, we do most of the job, but when we need, we can ask that. So start together, finish together works for us, and yeah, that's nice. So let's go into tooling. I'm moving very fast here. Nice. It wasn't like that when I was rehearsing. So yeah, tooling. We use Playwright for test automation. My opinion, it's the best tool out there, open source at least. I wouldn't use closed source if I were you. So yeah, it's fast, it's easy. I don't see any shortcomings and no headaches with it. It's perfect. So this is the most technical slide you will see in my speech. Just for the geeks who like technical stuff. So we use linting in our testing framework. Everybody does, I guess. And honestly, it saves a lot of time. So these are the only ones that, for Playwright, we have turned off. So we have quite a few skip tests in our framework, as you know, as you see. We use wait for timeout sometimes. Fourth option is corner functionality. You would probably not know about it. I wouldn't, and I will not explain it. And we use conditionals in our tests. Yeah, we do have A/B testing in Omnisend. That means our tests need to be have A and B path as well in our in the test. So we have if statements in our tests. Well, another neat feature that we have implemented is for observing REST failures. That means when our scheduled run is executing, we get real-time Slack messages if our REST endpoints fail. So any test run that is run in continuous integration will post these errors in Slack channel. What I mean, it's not only scheduled runs which execute all of our suits twice a day, but any deployment which triggers tests. So we get a nice quality pulse on our REST endpoints. Some of those issues could be hidden by test retries, which we also have in our framework. So yeah, it's a real-time thing. So nice feature that not all of you, I guess, have. So since we have close to 1,000 tests in our pool of tests, which are run scheduled in the morning and afternoon, it was really hard to investigate failures when some critical functionality stopped working. So we introduced a smoke test, which has like 5 or 6 tests. And when it fails, it skips all of the remaining tests. So we only have to investigate 1 or 2 tests at a time if that happens. I want to check your attention. So do you think we use sleep in our tests? You know what sleeping is, right, in tests? So do we use it? Okay, you got me. I checked the source, our repository. Damn, I was surprised. 83 times. How could we? We're bad test engineers. That's 12 minutes combined. But when I think, well, we ran our tests in parallel, so it's at least 8 threads. That's 90 seconds. Well, some of it does something, waits for something, so let's cut it in half. So like 45 seconds wasted on a 25-minute scheduled run, which executes over 1,000 tests. We can live with that. We have better things to do. And here it is. Let's look how day in QA looks like in Omnisend. I've created a flowchart just for you. Just kidding. Nobody would want to go through that. But let's look at the beginning. So we come into work each morning, test engineers at Omnisend. What do? We check the morning scheduled run. And if tests fail, we go that rabbit hole and finish our day after 9 hours. But if it passes, what do? Well, turns out we're asleep and we're dreaming. That never happens in Omnisend. So we're like 100 plus. I didn't count, I know that it's more. We didn't have a green run. That means it was a long time ago when all of the tests passed. So, short story. With 300 tests in our test suite, it was fine. We had the stable test runs. We constantly got green runs, no flaky tests. Everything went fine. At around 600 tests, we had a serious problem. So we gathered. Actually, we got some complaints from devs that we say, what the hell? How can we trust your tests if they are always failing? So we had quarter dedicated to actually addressing this issue. So we spent a lot of time fixing those issues, flakiness, addressing it. And after a quarter, we made it. We had a few successful weeks with 1 or 2 failed runs. What a relief. And then it all crumbled and burned. So we're at around 1,000 test cases, tests at the moment. And it all went back to flakiness in a couple of weeks. So we changed our approach. We started just marking tests as flaky, which were actually flaky. So new tests come in. Some of those get marked as flaky. The cycle of life, if you care about that test, you address the flakiness. If not, nobody cares about it. Those tests are still run after deployment in the owner's repositories. So they are not completely useless, but they are removed from scheduled runs. So that still didn't solve our problem, but when I come to work in the morning, I see only 1 or 3 or 5 test failures. That's manageable. We can live with that. We don't want to go to that place where we spend half of our day addressing flakiness. So another tool that we use in our company, actually it's used for most of our things that we do at Omnisend. It's Miraboard. How many of you know that tool? Okay, nothing new. So this is how Mira developers think we're using their board, their tool. This is how we actually use it. This is zoomed out and probably unreadable for a purpose. We wouldn't want you to see some details. So let me explain what's happening here. So everything at Omnisend happens in mirror boards. They're interlinked and linked back and so forth. We link it in Slack, we link it in emails, we link boards between each other and so on. So let me explain what you see here. So these small rectangles, the one at the top, the smallest one, is our quarterly goal. And the three at the bottom are monthly goals. These are 2 months in progress. I mean, they're finished already, almost finished, but yeah, two months in progress, and you see like vacations in there and so on, and the planning. And these are the steps that each step, a small set of repeatable rectangles, is a delivery that we push to prod, create actual value. So in those small rectangles, there are testing checklists most of the time. Yep, that's about it about Miraboard. Oh, the remaining things are research and preparation for next quarter. Let's address the elephant in the room, I guess. AI. This is my personal experience. I love Copilot. I love ChatGPT. And I use Claude as well. Copilot is great for when you stumble upon the test you've written 3 years ago, and you don't understand what it does. You ask to annotate it. You may be asked to explain it to you, and then you may be asked to refactor it for you. It all does for you, if you want. ChatGPT is like a testing buddy for me at the moment. Cloud is similar. When I'm working on a new feature, I ask about features, about that feature. I explain what we're doing, what is the outcome, and it gives me ideas. Actually, it's getting more useful with each new update. So, oh, also a nice quote I came up last evening or so, or 2 evenings ago. You can write it down. I have to mention QA Guild. We have a QA Guild. It's a half an hour meeting every week. It's regular stuff, nothing important to mention here, at least. Okay, so at Omnisend, we're focused on non-functional testing, and this is serious. So performance tests, accessibility, and security, everything is very important for us. So let's talk about why performance testing is important for us. You all are guilty for that. Buying stuff at Black Fridays. That didn't sound like you got the joke. So some of our services experience loads up to 3 or 5 times the normal, and we have to prepare for that. The load that we experience during Black Fridays often enough increases throughout the year and reaches the previous Black Friday's load. So after each Black Friday, we review our load tests, see the shortcomings, why we still had incidents during Black Friday. We patch that, and we do monthly load tests to make sure that the next Black Friday will be better. Oh yeah, so also starting October, we do daily small load tests, which with an increased load each day, so that our developers would feel that pressure. Okay, let's move on. Oh, so load testing, it's not yet there yet where we want it. So we started with JMeter, and after a couple of years, it grew into a monster. Nobody wants to touch it. Developers certainly won't touch it. I don't want to touch it. So we decided to move to K6. You know why? JMeter is horrible when you need to review the pull request. You can only work on one branch at a time. True story. Yeah, and you have to use UI most of the time if you want to use it. That's horrible. So K6 solves all of that. Even allows you to use TypeScript if you want. So that's perfect. Developers are excited. No, really. It's not a joke. Yeah, we see some benefits in there. And we're moving to K6. All of our load tests, you should too. We are data-driven company at Omnisend. We have a lot of alertings, metrics, and so on and so forth. Too many to mention in this 15 minutes that I have left. That's a lot. But yeah, I want to pinpoint what's for QA. We were asked to, as organization approached our guild and said, you know what? Let's answer one question. What is quality at Omnisend? And when I briefly mentioned, or I didn't mention, that all of our test engineers with different backgrounds, we have different mindset on what quality is. So we didn't make it. We didn't do it. We couldn't answer what quality at Omnisend is. Everyone was approaching from a different angle. So, but we did come up with some metrics, and we are automated. We don't have to do any manual things to calculate it. So we can, yeah. So every team has their own score, and this is combined score. So the most impact is from incidents. It doesn't matter if you caused the incident or you only were affected by the incident, you still get penalized. You know why? Because you should do something to not be affected by incidents from other teams. So that's why you get penalized. It's fair. Funny story time. A question. How would you test your unlimited learning budget at your company? I know my answer. You could do that, but that's boring. So at Omnisend, we did some big querying. One query cost 500 euro. That was an expensive learning experience. We didn't know that it costs. Yeah. So this is a accompanying picture. I did it myself. So a punchline and takeaway. Sometimes you have to choose what not to do to be fast, to be faster. Because if you choose to do a lot of things, you might as well end up irrelevant. So reinforcing Lina's message, hopefully. And this is, yeah, takeaway. So one more thing from this picture. So when the company wants fast and cheap, we test engineers at Omnisend try to remind the company that it also has to be good. And when we are focusing on things to be good, we must not forget that somebody has to pay for it. So yeah, it's striking the balance. And that was my message. I was really fast.
It's good that you were fast because there are a lot of questions, and that's the compliment for the audience. So far, you are doing great, challenging me to fit into time with all those interesting questions. So thank you, Martynas, for a nice presentation. I feel like that expensive query was AWS related.
It's Google BigQuery.
All right. All right. The top question we have is regarding QA processes on paper. Do you have test cases, checklists? How do you manage to do that in fast-paced project?
So as I mentioned briefly, we don't have actually test plans or rigorous test plans with steps. Most of what you can expect from us at Omnisend is a checklist, things you should check, just general ideas, and you read it, you know what to do.
Mm-hmm. All right. Another topic, flaky tests. So you mentioned the Playwright, the perfect tool, easy to use, and so on. So what's the main reason, what's the main cause of flaky tests in your case?
It comes down to integration. So we use events in our system. Events, as you know, are unpredictable. They can arrive in a second. We can take some detour and arrive after half an hour. You name it. That's how events work. So when you produce an event, you expect it to arrive in 1 or 2 seconds, usually. That's where flakiness comes. That's where it's born, most of the time. But we have other sources of flakiness as well.
Next question regarding support bugs. I would rephrase that about what's the balance between your own bugs that you find internally and the bugs that are coming from support? Would you say that?
Yeah, since we don't track our internal bugs in Jira, yeah, everything is in Miraboard, as I said. I haven't ever thought of doing the comparison, but at least at my team, I'm happy we don't get a lot of support tickets. Yay for me, I guess.
Interesting one. What does your security team think about refactoring via AI?
Oh, what somebody thinks I should think about it. Okay, I can try that. I think they would say it's a horrible idea at the moment, but ask again in 2 years.
How does dev involvement look? Do they test while developing, or is there a different time they dedicate for that?
So it's start together, finish together approach, where they finish. We don't want to let developers go on a next task and leave us behind. So they ask if, can I help you before the release in some way? So if there are things that need to be tested, we go test. If we see that we still lack some end-to-end tests, we write tests. We review code that we write, and so on. So it's like a regular thing for them to test.
And probably that's related to regression testing, because another question is, how do you make your regression testing instantly automated?
So at least I myself like to finish end-to-end tests that end up regression tests before the feature is finished developing. Usually we can achieve that. And we don't have very looking for a word. Our regression test suite is not very granular. It's only main flows, and so far it works out for us. We don't have many UI tests. I myself have written 2 UI tests. One instance was when we have shared components, and one of our main buttons in my scope was broken twice in a month. Then I said, okay, I will have my first UI test in my scope. I checked that the button works. So since then, nobody broke it. Well, but I have a test. So I have a couple of more UI tests, but everything is in the integration layer through APIs.
Do you run tests on pull requests?
Linting is our test at pull requests, so we do a lot through linting.
There are several questions about scheduled run failing so often, so maybe Playwright is not the right tool, or have you considered Cypress instead of Playwright, and what could be the advantages?
Another can of worms. Thank you. Well, it's not the tool that causes flakiness. It's the probability when you have over 1,000 tests. You reach mathematical probability of something failing. So it's hard to battle against math, I guess.
How much do you actually find actual bugs in those flaky tests? How often?
It's not that it's a tool for finding bugs, as you know. It's for giving confidence that everything we've written and everything we're checking still works. So that's the main purpose. And if it doesn't find bugs, that's great. That means our developers are doing a pretty good job.
Do you think that your current approach, like QA approach in your company, is good regarding known SQA practices? I feel like this is referencing to like some kind of industry standards. So are you comparing like in a way your practices against industry standards, and you feel confident with that?
Certainly we don't check our test engineers' STQB certificates, if you ask that. But we do follow the trends. For example, accessibility topic, we recently investigated what is available in the industry to assist us with testing. Oh, what a disappointment. So nothing new in the past 10 years. So yeah, we do constantly look for better ways to do our job. As I mentioned, AI is around the corner to help us.
Okay, next one regarding the regression testing, and what would be your sales pitch to advocate to some kind of stubborn manager saying that regression testing or manual regression testing is necessary? So how do you prove them wrong?
I've been in a couple of situations where there were no automated tests, and sometimes even client of owner of the project said that no, we don't need automated tests. So it's just a tool. I have my personal automated test if you don't allow me to have it in a repository. That it helps me. That's the tool that I mastered, and I will use it. So the regression shouldn't be manual. That's my stance.
Another one regarding Black Friday. What are few main reasons of failing load tests on Black Friday?
I mean, why are we still failing on Black Friday? Because we don't run load tests on Black Friday. That would be suicide. So it's unpredictable. The load each year differs. Our product evolves and so on. So we can't predict the load still.
How do you deal with cases that are hard or impossible to automate?
So as I mentioned in one of our principles, we make it. So we ask our developers to implement some hooks or hacks that our test suite can use to overcome those hurdles and make it testable. I don't want to give any examples because you might find those secret things in our product.
What are the metrics you use to explain product quality to business people? Is that metric that sums up like that reliability metric the one, or do you have like different language to talk to business?
That's a problem at Omnisend, I guess. Nobody from our test engineering likes to do the managerial stuff. So it's on demand. If something is needed, we try to provide it, but we don't do that actively. So did I answer your question?
The question is not mine, so that's fine.
I mean, did I answer the question or not?
You answer a lot of questions. You provided a lot of fine information and insights about how the testing looks like at Omnisend. So I feel like you contributed a lot to our mission to feel the pulse of what's happening in Lithuanian companies. So thank you very much, Martynas. That's all the questions.